All right. Good morning, Hobbyverse. It is the 21st of February. My name is John Newman from Sports Card Nation, and I'm happy to be joined. I think this is episode 375. Yep. If my numbering's correct, anyway. I'm getting older, but I'm joined this morning, happily, by Lauren Rizzo Schaefer. Lauren goes here. And as I always say, below us only on screen, Dr. James Beckett. Good morning.
Why is that? Why am I always on the bottom?
I don't know. Let me
I
see
got,
I don't know if
got
I
here
can
late.
switch. I
I
don't.
think I got here the latest.
There you go.
Okay.
You're moving up in the world, and I'm moving
Okay.
down in the world. So there we go. All right. So let's get some good mornings. I always love Carl from Oz. He's in Australia. I believe so. It's 3 a.m. He is up at 3 a.m. watching us. That's dedication.
That's
Thank you,
passion.
Carl. Yeah. Stooks, not in Australia, but we appreciate his time as well as everybody else. Mad City Brew. Good morning. Uh, we got some comments. Philly Joe. Good morning. Larry Gitling. Good morning as well. Kind of going through these. There's John Kaufman, part of the show itself. Good morning, sir. All right. One more. David Chase, good morning. Baseball card curmudgeon. Good morning. What's up as well? So, Phil, I think that's Phil Pierce in the house. Yep. So, John Keating. Yeah, I had Botox. I don't know what I do know what Botox is. I didn't do the injections. I did the pills. So that maybe that's what's going on there. All right, let's Chad always has such nice things to say. Unfortunately, we don't often do Clemente Clementio. Speaking of the Pittsburgh connection, we don't often do this, but it just happened yesterday, and he's a Hall of Famer. And I know I actually didn't realize this till talking to Dr. Jim. I forgot for the moment. Dr. Jim's a Pirates guy. Well, we lost a Hall of Famer, famous Pirate, 1960 walk-off home run against the Yankees. But rest in peace to Bill Mazeroski, 90 years old. So long life, but still, anytime you lose somebody, it's always sad. Condolences to baseball fans and Mazeroski family, the Hall of Fame family. He was very active, guys, even doing some signings recently. So they think he was even scheduled for some more here in the future. So I don't know all the details pertaining to his passing, but I don't know if I don't believe this was an expected one. But again, I don't know, so I don't want to say that and not be correct. But for you, Dr. Jim, I'll start off with that. You're a Pittsburgh guy originally. You're a Pirates fan. Kind of your thoughts with Mazeroski, passing away.
Well, the 60 Pirates might have been my favorite team. I was in the 6th grade. I remember exactly where I was when he hit his home run. And but he wasn't known. He certainly wasn't a home run hitter. He was known for fast hands, great defensive. And when you look at the replays of that, he's not like the modern day sluggers who are thinking about launch angle and exit velocity. He just got around and got the fat part of the bat on a pitch and put it over the fence. And so he wasn't swinging from his heels or trying to be a hero. He was, trying to make good contact. And here he is, most dramatic home run in World Series history, perhaps.
And think about the history of the World Series, Dr. Jim Lauren. He's the only walk-off in the entire, history of the World Series. We've had other dramatic home runs. Joe Carter comes to mind. Even last year in the Dodgers series, some of the late home runs in the extra innings. But this was the only one to end the series. And when you think of all the World Series, that's surprising that there's only one. Just like there's only one perfect game, probably always will be. I don't know if we ever will see that again as well. So a lot of people, uh, commenting here. Midland Field with Mazeroski, Gene Alley, Bill James considers him the greatest defensive second baseman in the history of the game. I know John's a Philly fan, but 1965 led this Casey Stengel directly getting fired. Um, uh, Larry Gitlin was in seventh grade for home run. I wasn't around yet. But you don't have to be around to know of that significance in baseball history and Mazeroski as a Hall of Famer. Uh, so Mangini agrees, best second baseman of all time, and all reports and he's everything I hear was really nice guy, great with the fans at events and public appearances. I'll ask you, Dr. Jim, have you ever had the pleasure of meeting Mazeroski?
A long, long time ago. But he wasn't on the show circuit as much of the big shows because he was a late Hall of Famer. And I was always a big fan. I mean, I was more of an outfielder than an infielder, but he's in the Hall of Fame because he's got defensive WAR and was a good hitter, but he had that great moment. But interestingly, he wasn't the best second baseman in the series. Bobby Richardson, for the Yankees was also at second base and was I think the only MVP of a series on a losing team. And so Bobby Richardson, why isn't he in the Hall of Fame? Well, he had a much shorter career. But Mazeroski was, he was a work of art in the field. And I think that put him over the top because just based on hitting, he's not in at all.
Couple last comments before we get into our first topic of the day. John Mangini says, I used to drink with him. He was a great guy, lived in my hometown. Save John, he used to hang out, grab a beer. So a lot of people were tipping a few back with Mazeroski. So there you go. I'm not from Pittsburgh, although I am a Steelers fan for whatever that's worth. Keating says I was the third best second baseman on my honeymoon. So, local Pittsburgh guy, or at least he stayed in the area post career, and obviously you could hang out with him and have a beer or two. So, condolences to the Mazeroski family, the baseball world, in the Hall of Fame. On losing the legend. And that people argue he shouldn't be in the hall, and that home run, sort of like you kind of alluded to it, Dr. Jim, that home run sort of was the tipping point. You kind of real quick, your kind of thoughts on that overall. Is and I know you're a little biased being a Pirates and a Mazeroski guy.
We're sitting here with the Winter Olympics, and Mazeroski performed over 20-year, well, not quite a 20-year career, but he had a long career, and he had all-star appearances, led the league in various categories on a fielding basis. He had that one moment. How's that different from the Winter Olympics, where we're spending all this time talking about people who have one moment, and you didn't hear about all the preparation, all the stuff they did, and one gold medal, and they're put on a pedestal, literally a pedestal. So Mazeroski belongs with the greats of the game, especially on the defensive side. And that's, last time I looked at it, that was approaching half the game. I think pitching and hitting, or let's say it's thirds, but if he more than upheld his, when he leads the league in assists, it's not because he is in outfield. If you lead the league in assists, it's because you have an accurate throwing arm. If you're in infield, you lead the league in assists. You've got range. You've got the range factor. You're getting to a lot of balls. Maybe the pitchers are inducing ground balls to some degree, but you're you're covering the ground, you're throwing the runners out. At second base, it's not about your arm. It's about probably more about your legs and your quick hands.
Yeah, John Keating is trying to get Juan Samuel in the Hall of Fame. So keep trying, JK. You never know. But Veterans Committee might be able to get him in. But all right. We'll go on to our first topic. It's a part of the hobby I'm not well versed in or fond of, but to each their own. But it's such a big story, we can't ignore it, right? We have a new record holder for most expensive single card sold. You see the graphic there, 16 and almost $16.5 million. This is a 1998 Japanese promo, Hollow Illustrator. It is the only PSA 10. However, there's 41 of these. They were made as giveaways. Logan Paul is the seller, and Paul Scaramucci, who's the son of, I believe, the former press secretary of the White House, Scaramucci. The son, Paul, who's in the finance world, is the purchaser of this card. This now replaces the Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant logo man 101 on the top of the hill now. And it's not a 101 in the sense it is a pop one, but it's not a 101. Not that that's a prerequisite to be the most expensive card. But it just struck me, and this didn't just edge it out. This went for almost $3.5 million more than the MJ Kobe. So this is big news for the hobby world, and obviously on the Pokemon side of things. Some of I don't know who wants to go first here. I'll let Lauren go because I know me and Dr. Jim talk a lot about Mazeroski. But kind of, Lauren, your thoughts on this card and the sale?
It's bonkers. It's yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to kind of like process like what I personally think about it. And like it doesn't seem real. Like those are not real numbers. These are like not real people, like they're just caricatures. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know that it just seems more like a meme almost than like an actual move for cards and stuff, I know that's not the case. These are like real dollars and stuff, but just like the narrative and the players and the number and all that, it just seems nuts. I don't know. I think, I see some people in the chat are saying like it's a different beast. It's like not the hobby, but Pokemon's huge and it's a card. I mean, you can define the hobby how you want, but like it's graded by PSA. It's a card, and if you're exclusively sports, then that's fine. But it's relevant to some extent. I don't think I mean, I think at this point I'm okay keeping it separate from like, the Kobe Jordan, because it again just doesn't seem real to me. It seems just kind of like a meme. And I don't know, it's interesting, but I don't know if there's much like substance to it. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you and Dr. Jim think about it though, because it's bonkers to me.
Now, is the chain? I know Theo brought it up. I don't know if the chain was included. So that, assuming that's real gold, that's going to be a good portion of it. So we might have an asterisk, right? Where it's like the 162 game schedule, the 154 game schedule in baseball. There might be, an asterisk here if the chain's included. Theo was the first one to sort of point that out. Dr. Jim, your thoughts on this? We'll call it card. I guess if the chain's included, that sort of changes the case. But your thoughts on this?
Well, even though gold has doubled in the last year, certainly since Logan Paul acquired the card, obviously that's actually that is a memento that will have significance. I'd keep it in the chain. I'd keep it in the chain. But where are you going to wear it? And worry about being accosted or murdered for I'll take that that $16 million card and chain around your neck. I think it's a PR thing, and this is the new high score, and that's what my thoughts about whether this is a legit sale. I mean, that gets into market manipulation types of things, and kind of like shill bidding. Did this get bid up artificially? And I used to think that shill bidding, as I kind of keep thinking through these things, is it shill bidding if you intend to win? Well, I think it is shill bidding if you intend to win with your bid, if your intent is to manipulate the market and to pay even more than you really should or maybe even need to in order to get publicity. It's not the real market. So to me, that's market manipulation. I think there's an element of this there. I mean, again, maybe there were two bidders that were going back and forth, and I understand there were, and they were even in the room. And as I've said, that in there are different rules for live auctions because of the transparency of people being in the room. They can see who they're bidding against, and transparency generally is a good thing. In online auctions, you don't have that transparency. The auction, Ken Golden would know. But at any rate, so not that it was staged, but a lot of people are smiling because there's this thought that perhaps it raised all boats, and it elevated Pokemon, maybe temporarily, but now Pokemon is above all the sports, baseball and everything else. The Wagner, the Mantle, any Ruth card, all these multi-million-dollar cards are now not left in the dust, because I think that it'll be passed up. And I predict it'll be passed up by a sports card later this year.
Yeah, how many? I got to ask you, Dr. Jim, how many Pokemon cards are behind you in your show, in your rack there?
Do you want me to count or just give you a simple answer?
I think I know, but go ahead.
It's zero. I am fully divested of. I never really got into it, and I just, again, like I said, I want to think that sports card collectors, rich and poor, are going to take this as a personal challenge. The most valuable piece of cardboard real estate, cannot be a Pokemon card. And so I really believe later this year there'll be a new high score for something, and it may be a newer card and it might be an older card. There are some fabulous, very highly graded Grail cards out there, including PSA 10 Mantles, 52 tops.
That would be my pick, Dr. Jim. I think that's going to be the card. But
maybe this is like the pole vaulters and the high jumpers, is that even in the Olympics, they want to set a record, but they don't always fully extend themselves, because then they want to set a new record, later. It keeps it. They don't always go. They stop when they have the record, and so like I said, I think there's going to be an $18 million sale later this year. That's my prediction. And to make it even more insidious, there were prediction market bets. They're not bets, but they're sort of like bets that were placed on this event. And so, I think there'll be something later this year that will top it in sports.
Yeah, I think it's going to be.
Am I happy about that? Actually, no, because I think it gets up so much in the stratosphere. It's got more room to go down than go up. And I've always thought I want to have a hobby that's very enjoyable, and we're maybe having some ups and downs along the way, but we're mostly up.
Yeah, I think if the next card, it's got to be the Mantle 52 tops, the 10s. I know there's more than one. If those come to market or put on the auction block, I think that will be the card. Will you agree, or do you even think it could be something else, like another logo man or 1-to-1, a 1-to-1?
Well, there's old money and new money. And the old money, I think they'd get excited about a PSA 5 Wagner T206, because I think the 8 is, the questionable circumstances around that. But the next best one, I think, would be amazing bragging rights. And again, there can be corporate bidders and buyers and winners, and other people that want to use the publicity. It's I won't say it's cheap publicity, because it's millions of dollars, but you get the attention, maybe not of the whole world, but it's on a lot of news platforms that this is big news. And is it cheaper than a minute of Super Bowl ad time or something like that? So when you look at it that way, I just think we may see more of this, but there's got to be a story. There's got to be a dramatic story. The Logan Paul factor is a big deal. And Ken Golden is, I won't say he's the best auctioneer, but he's the best hype auctioneer, perhaps. And he beats the drum loudly and out there, and he's doing everything in his power to maximize eyeballs and maximize bids. And so I'm not saying he's the best, but you can't mention who the best is without mentioning him. There's others outstanding as well.
Yep, some of the Wagners that are a little bit of the higher grade variety have been mentioned in the chat room as what will be the next King of the Hill. I'm not a Pokemon guy, never have been, but I can tell you from being a show dealer, it is very popular. People come up to me all the time and ask me if I have any. People always ask me if I'm going to delve into it eventually, which the answer to that is no. But we have shows now in this area that are just, and I saw a few comments alluding to that, Lauren and Dr. Jim. We have shows in this area. You won't find me at them, but they're all Pokemon collectors and dealers. They're called Pokefest. And so whether you love it or hate it or in between, right, it's legit. It's here to stay. When I see this card and this recent sale, the first thing I thought of is whenever it comes back for another sale or the auction block end, if that's the case, I just don't see it doing that again. So you can, you can say to Scaramucci, like, that's a bad investment. I know people don't like the I word, but I don't know if he's going to get his money back to what it cost them to get it, to own it, right? And I don't know if he's planning to have it resold down the line, but I just don't think that will go for more the next time. I think it'll go for less. And who knows, right? No one would have predicted this either. I guess we'll close out the topic with this. Go ahead, Dr. Jim.
You're looking at this like a collector, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the Scaramucci guy, not looking at it as a collector, this isn't even a capital expenditure. In a sense, it is. It's a marketing expense. He's already gotten the value of the card already, and he gets to keep the card. Most marketing plans, you like I said, you put out a couple ads on the Super Bowl. They're watched and done, and maybe some people would come back to him. But he got the equivalent marketing push, and he gets to keep the card. And then he can sell it later, maybe for more, maybe for less. But I believe he's already made whole. That's why I say it's manipulative. Well, it's manipulative to the hobby more so than manipulative to the industry. The hobby, as we know it, is a bunch of people getting together and enjoying their hobby. When big business comes in, big money comes in and looks at it as an industry, then it's manipulative to the hobby aspect.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you think, speaking of on the sports card side, do you think this affects anything of the high end variety, or are they two separate entities?
Absolutely, it's game on. I'm telling you, there'll be more stuff coming out of the woodwork, and I promise you, Heritage is going to start. I mean, because it's not like these auction houses, Ken Golden being the most out there guy at this point, they're not waiting for people to bring them stuff. As you could see from his show, they're out there. But Heritage is doing the same thing, and so are many others. They've got to go convince the consigner that, give us your stuff. Now is the time. I'm going to get you the best price. And they work with you on these on the commissions, and they guarantee certain marketing exposure. It's game on. It's game on.
Yeah, Lauren, any kind of final thoughts here?
Yeah, I was thinking Dr. Jim made some really great points, and so I was just kind of, chewing on some of the different points we've been making here. And I think one thing I love about being on the show with Dr. Jim is he always makes me remember that there are people who think drastically differently than I do about cards and the hobby and stuff. He always reminds me that, yeah, ego is a big part of some people's hobby experience and collecting experience. And that's a really great point, because I can't, I don't put myself in that position, but that is a part of this sale. These are two big names. What did we know Scaramucci for before? It was like a segment of time because his tenure was so short, and now his son has taken that name to a different level. And I think also it can't be, there's certain extra details that have to be taken into account. Like, it's the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. That's, this is good PR for that. I think they just opened a park in Japan. This is good PR for that. Logan Paul signed a contract with WWE. He is now, a full-time superstar. This is good PR for that. This is, it is, like Dr. Jim said, to some extent, they have been made whole on this. Ken Golden, he thrives on the PR, and his company thrives on the PR, and he's willing to pour money. We remember when he had a big auction and he, was taking pictures in Times Square with the advertisement. He's willing to funnel the money in. That's worth it to him. And you can see it does build, it pays off long term, I guess. So I think it's interesting. I think we're all going to feel different about it depending on how much we care about Pokemon or cards, or how much we hate Logan Paul or whatever. Everybody, there's so many different things that can impact how you feel about it. But I do think it is undeniable that, yeah, there are certain people in that echelon that are like, well, he spent X number of dollars. Now I have to get that headline back. I have to, whatever. Or, I had a deal with Logan and he, went back on it. And, I wanted to always be the one he'd sell privately. And whatever, there's interpersonal things that are going to drive the higher end of the market, whether that really matters or not. It will trickle down eventually, but I don't know. It's, I think we just have to remember, it is a narrative. That's a big part of when these big numbers come up, there's a narrative out there. They're trying to drive a narrative, and it does impact us all, but you have to be smart about how you take into account, how this is coming to be, how it was, presented to you, what was the showmanship of it, that kind of thing. So, and also in Scaramucci, I think he said he wants to get the constitute, he wants to kind of have holy grails. He wants to collect this. The Pokemon card is one thing, a constitution. I can't remember the third thing I remember reading he wanted. He kind of wants to be, I think, some kind of charismatic, Willy Wonka type figure, that's just spending crazy numbers you can't fathom and doing weird side quests and stuff. I think this is kind of more of a story than anything, and it's the hobby is the first chapter, I guess, for this particular guy. And, for some of us, it's unfortunate getting, what we love roped into it. But I think it extends beyond, cardboard. So I don't know.
Well, let's see if he crosses over into the sports. We're talking about the next record breaker. Maybe he's the buyer of a PSA 10 52 tops Mano, or a higher grade Wagner. We'll see. if his
Well,
buying
hold on.
spree
No,
continues.
it's a different marketing. It's a different appeal. The next new high score, if it's a 52 tops mantle, that doesn't mean anything to people less than 30 years of age. The Pokemon is the maximum exposure to probably under 40 of people. Now, people over 60, they're thinking, what's the deal about Pokemon? But so if you're marketing to younger people, this is about as good as it gets. And so you'd have to go to, Luca or Giannis or LeBron. Even LeBron now is looking old. But you have to have you have to have your marketing pitch has to relate to the people you're trying to influence. And look, the Paul brothers are brilliant at that.
Yeah, I like this comment. I don't like everything Keating says, but I like this one, right? Let's not scoreboard watch, collect cards that make us happy. We don't need to wear around our necks, right? And ultimately, that's what it should be about. I agree. But listen, this is big news. You don't have to like it. I don't like every big news story, but
Well,
we got to talk
hey,
about
John, John Keating has a subliminal message in there. A scoreboard is the former company of the Goldens, and
it.
had a
Yeah,
great day in
that's
the
a whole
sun.
nother show.
I know, but it
Yeah,
had a great day in the sun for a while, and then they got maybe too far out over their skis. But again, that was when Ken was much younger and perhaps not as wise. He's doing a lot of things right now.
Yeah. All right, let's get into another topic. Let's get back into the sports side of thing. We've seen Topps has now got the basketball and the football licensing soon to fall. So Panini is sort of like Topps was, but even worse because they don't have the baseball licensing like Topps did. So everyone's trying to bury them, right? But what is this is a product that they're going to release soon. I don't think it's out yet. It's the Panini, Donruss basketball. You're not going to find any logos as they don't have the licensing. You're not going to find Cooper Flag. You're not going to find Wemby or LeBron in this product as they are exclusive to Fanatics. They are going to. There's 3 autos in this where there used to be 1. But people are saying, yeah, there's 3 autos, but who are you going to get with all the big names being on the Topps Fanatic side of the house? Dr. Jim, you've done this a long time. I have too. They're going to survive. I don't think, but, how do you view Panini now in this new landscape where they don't have the licensing? And do you see Fanatics buying them and just sort of, I know they've been resistant. They've been tried to been purchased. They've been stiff arming that. Does this happen now?
Well, we don't know who's stiff arming who. I think these are 2 large companies who are battling it out for market share, and Fanatics at this point, other than the litigation that's going on, are going to have the 3 main licenses. But back when Topps had baseball, Panini had Donruss baseball. Donruss baseball wasn't as good as Topps baseball. It wasn't fully licensed, but it sold. It sold, and these other products are going to sell. I think you can still make beautiful kabooms and downtowns without showing team logos, even though you have kind of city identifiable or other kinds of interesting graphics. So you don't have to have that. So, but it's not worthless. It's just worth less. So Panini's still going to be able to put together some sets, and they've got creative people there, and they've already been doing it in baseball, of saying, we don't have a license, but we're going to put out cards and we're going to figure out what's economical for us. They've got to recalibrate because they don't have basketball and football, which was just runaway successes over the last 10 years. But I think they got to right size. They have to right size. and adjust their marketing and others. But they're just cards without when the comparison to 70s tops basketball and 80s tops football, where they weren't fully licensed, there was no comparison. So it wasn't a matched pair. They were the main game in town. When you have fully licensed cards, people are mainly going to, if the price is the same, they're going to do that every time, but the price will not be the same. The price might be double or triple for the fully licensed, and there will be some people saying an autograph of a guy is an autograph of a guy on a piece of 2.5 by 3.5. So it's price sensitive, and Panini has been very price sensitive, moving prices up. Let's see if they're price sensitive on moving prices down to make sure they're putting out good product and selling it out and having it do well in the secondary market.
Lauren, you're a basketball lady. I know you collect basketball. You're fond of it. You're a fan as well. Your thoughts to now you have, other than Topps, if you want to still buy Panini basketball, it's going to be sort of different than what you were accustomed to. Is that a deal breaker for you? It's not a big deal. Like, where do you fall in that category?
Yeah, I mean, I think I honestly, it will come down to the designs for me personally. If they're ugly cards, then I don't want them. And if them being unlicensed makes them a little bit more reasonable for people to buy, and for younger people who are getting into the hobby, maybe have less money, if they can get if they can get an autograph or a downtown of somebody and it's unlicensed, if that's helping them build their collection, I think that's great. I saw like on the box they have VJ Edgecombe, who is really like unexpectedly shining in Philadelphia right now. I think that's that's somebody that they can tout, that is not Cooper Flag or Wembanyama. Topps went after the top prospects, and and sometimes that works. Sometimes you take that gamble, and like I think Victor Wembanyama is going to be a generational player. I think he is going to be the face of the league. But it could also be, and I hate to like say bust or anything or speak negatively, but you could also have like Nike with Zion Williamson. You really go all in on this one player, and you've claimed them, but then when they don't amount to what you anticipated, what do you do? So I like that there's a little bit more of like if you like to, prospect or follow your team, or you like really believe in this player you were watching through college, and you're like, I think that this is, like Steph Curry. Nobody thought Steph Curry was going to be Steph Curry. So I think it's interesting that like, you'll have that alternative option. But with Panini, and I've been saying this for a while, they have WNBA, and there's such a huge desire for women's sports right now. And if they could go all in, really dedicated, and I'm not saying they don't do the unlicensed basketball, that's fine, whatever. But if they really just wanted to cement their position, stop chasing, what Fanatics is doing, stop chasing, what they may have, quote unquote, taken from you, and go all in on WNBA. Go all in on the women's hockey league. It's only 3 years old. Go all in on Unrivaled, like the softball league that's going to be coming up professionally. Like, go all in on them and say, we are betting on you and we are catering to you. And I think that will be a great way for them not only to survive but thrive. I think that if they say, we're going to put you first and we're going to prioritize this, then they will have a loyal fan base. Now, whether they want that or not, obviously that's, up to them. But I personally, if I was, steering the ship in Fantasyland, that's what I think they should do. So.
Yeah, John Keating wants them to go all in on Nordic skiing. So I don't know. We'll see. But no, I agree. And listen, piggybacking off a couple things Dr. Jim said, right? It's all going to be based on price point, whether something is a popular product. But again, those kabooms and those downtowns, they're still making those. Again, maybe not with logos, but someone is not going to be disappointed opening the pack and seeing one of those in it, regardless logos or no logos. That's a whole nother show, in itself. Is like we're so much focused on these one type of cards and we don't care about everything else, but they're still there in the product. There's still going to be the big chase card that people want to pull or get. So, and listen, with the way the breaking is now, there's no unsold products. I mean, we're seeing bowling cards sell out in breaks and cornhole and all sorts of off the grid, not mainstream, I'll put it that way, type things, because people are just, it's that gambling aspect. They're buying into break, even if it's a cheap break, just say I might hit something. It's didn't cost me much, and let's see what happens, and that sort of thing. So they're not going to be. It's not like years ago where some things would collect dust before breaking. Like now, everything sells at some price point or another. Just kind of the close on this. Dr. Jim? Do we think? Is Panini going to stay in like their own company, or you think there's a possibility at some point here they say, you know what, it's time to sell?
I mean, I can't really fully put myself in those moccasins. I mean, I sold because of, various reasons. When PSA collectors purchased the Beckett brands a couple months ago, I didn't have a say in that, but there were various reasons for that. For Panini to be sold, or to even be on friendly terms with Fanatics, they're going to do what's best for themselves. And what Lauren is saying, there are some licenses out there that they're holding, and I agree they need to go all in, but not all in terms of maximizing distribution so that it becomes junk wax. They can't think we're going to make up that money by wallpapering WNBA or with the women's hockey, WPWHA so
PWHL.
something like that. They have to have restraint. So if I'm in Panini, if I'm the CEO of Panini, I'm saying I'm not going to get upset if our revenue is down next year. We would expect it to be down, but we need to right size. We still want to be profitable. And like Lawrence says, we want to be looking at niches and going into them and showing them that we're now definitely number two and we're going to try harder. And so one thing they could do, which would be, let me throw out a scenario here. If they said, going forward, we're going to be known for on-card autographs. We're not going to do any more stickers. Okay. On the other hand, because the two great cost factors for making cards are autographs and game used material. But if Panini said, you know what, we're no longer going to do game used material. We're going to get sporting. We're going to buy from Fanatics or Dick's, or we're going to get Fanatics. We're going to get regular jerseys, manufactured patches, whatever, but not game worn. Their costs will drop, and if they could pass that on to the customer, they could try that and see if that works. All autographs are on card, but we're using the fabric of a store-bought jersey to get a great autograph out of this. I think people wouldn't like it, but I think the cost could drop down to where they could say, hey, we're the people's choice. Buy your $1,000 boxes over here from these other guys. We've got boxes between $100 and $200. And the trade-off is you're no longer going to get the really expensive superstar autographs or superstar game-worn jerseys.
Yeah, comment from Philly Joe. That's a good comment I want to talk about because he's right. He says no unsold product, ? Been to a Target or Walmart lately? He's right. If you've been to a Target, at least in my neck of the woods, I'm assuming maybe it's like that, there is a lot of blaster boxes on the shelf. But what are people doing eventually is buying those at some point, even if they go on clearance, and doing retail breaks, right? How many times you see someone like, hey, I'm breaking 5 blaster boxes, pick your team, a random team or whatever. So even that sells eventually. I agree. It does. It is sitting on shelves more than during the COVID crescendo. But even that product eventually gets ripped and moved, even if it has to be put on clearance for $10 less or whatever the deduction is.
Well, no, John,
Rarely is a. Go ahead. Go ahead.
They can't do that. They have to. And this isn't defensive show bidding, but it is defensive in the sense that when prices get too low, the card companies have a vested interest in that not being very public, the low end of the market. And so they've got to figure out ways that it quietly goes to Dave and Adams or some other outlet or to some preferred breaker to say, look, you need to buy this and do that, and that's part of your relationship with us. So if it gets public that there's a race to the bottom, that's the defensive aspect of price manipulation. You don't want the price to go too low. It undermines consumer confidence. I mean, you want a good deal for yourself, but when you go to the Walmart, there's a big stack of product there with half off. That doesn't look. That's not a good look for the hobby.
Foul 5 balls. Foul 5 balls says no retail sitting around since 2019. So all right. Any last thought, Lauren? Your thoughts on any last thoughts on Panini before we go to our sort of last topic?
No, I think we covered it. I think we all have some really good insight, and yeah, Panini wants to call us for some more ideas.
Yeah,
We're
I think
available.
Dr. Jim might get the
all
first
your problems.
and then we'll have to be after him. All right, this next topic, guys, not a big news story, but I thought it was kind of funny and interesting and something different. And it's happening pretty much in Dr. Jim's backyard. You may have remembered in the 1990 season, Nolan Ryan took a ball off the bat of Bo Jackson to the face, stayed in the game, was bloodied and a little bit battered, and finished out, stayed on the mound with a bloody jersey. Well, the Texas Rangers are going to have a bloody jersey Nolan Ryan giveaway. I believe it's April 29th, May 29th at the stadium. And the pattern, excuse me, the pattern of the blood, that's obviously not real blood, but coloring, is the same as from the game in 1990. I've read that all fans will get one, so I don't think it's like the first 10,000. And when I saw this, we've seen kind of odd bobblehead kind of giveaways. This is the strangest jersey giveaway that I've seen that I can recollect, but I think this is going to be a big hit. People are going to want Nolan to sign this thing. I'll go to Dr. Jim first. This is in your neck of the woods. Is this a story locally? More, I know it's making some national news, but how big of is it locally?
It's interesting, but just like my prior comment about Panini of cutting costs by doing not doing game used, this is not even player touched. I don't think. I mean, they're going to make out 20, 30,000 of these replica things, which might be glorified T-shirts. I'm really not sure. I don't think they're going to be the same fabric. I ordered as a season ticket holder. I had they said you can pick from our prize catalog or whatever for your season ticket gift. And I said, well, there's a Luka jersey there. This was a few years ago. I said, I'll take that. I got it. And it was, when they talk about napkin patches, this what I got was less than a napkin. I mean, it was it was flimsy, see-through fabric. So I don't think this is going to be high quality. I think Nolan will sign him for a fee, but he may put a pretty big fee on it.
So he'll put a premium, like if you want me to sign this.
Well, I mean, I've signed fabric stuff. I mean, it's harder to do. It takes longer. You've got to kind of hold it down and all that stuff. But over the years, this is most reminiscent to me of in the Beckett Baseball Card Monthly, Volume 1, Number 1, that had Dale Murphy and Roberto Clemente on the pale blue cover. About, I don't know what it was, the 200th issue or something like that, but we did a commemorative reprint that was clearly labeled reprint of the Volume 1, Number 1. And we did a couple 100,000 of them. And so many times what Volume 1, Number 1 of the original was. To this day, I've gotten far more requests for signing the original than I have the reprint. And I don't charge anything. So, that's so I just don't know. This is a novelty. The true collectors are going to want to get it signed. And when Nolan says, sure, $250.
Yeah.
They may
say, I really hope I hope he doesn't put a premium. Whatever his fee is, I just hope he keeps it at that level. And
his fee is pretty stout anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's why. Like, it's already up there. Don't raise it just because this jersey is produced. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure he gave his blessing to have this done. Like, don't charge more for, And here's the thing: there's only going to be not everyone's going to obviously have the ability to get it autographed or want it autographed. So how many, if they make 40,000, I don't know how many they're going to make, but like how many is he actually going to see that are going to come across his table at a signing or at a show that he's at? So I hope he doesn't. Prop it off like you said, Dr. Jim. His fee is already, not necessarily cheap. Well, so hopefully,
at one point, John, he did not like to sign, as I recall, he did not like to sign the 8x10s that captured his given Robin Ventura noogies.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
He didn't want to sign it because it was whatever. And so this could be like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Lauren, your thoughts on on something like this? You think it's fun? It's funny, cool. Like, where do you when you see this? What are your reaction?
Yeah, I think it's fun. I think it's it's outside the box. Like sometimes you do gotta just throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And like this has got people talking, and it's interesting, it's funny, it builds on the legacy of the franchise. So I think that's cool. I will say, as you all were speaking, I thought I had a Shaq jersey that they gave out, and it was like napkins, so I was trying to grab that. But also I was grabbing an embroidery hoop. I want everybody who may not have heard of these or seen these, this is a plastic one, but they have bamboo ones at like Michael's for about $2. You can put whatever fabric you want signed in an embroidery hoop before you get to whoever you're going to a signing for. It stretches it taut. They don't have to do the work. You don't have to be disappointed.
There you go.
It's perfect. It's cheap. Please, highly recommend. Highly recommend. It's literally, the bamboo hoops are like, they come in different sizes. They come big, small, whatever. Very cheap, very durable. Highly recommend.
Okay, but Lauren, how would you be willing to frame your Shaq jersey and put it in a prominent place in your house? I don't think you would, because if it had the embroidery hoop, showcasing if he autographed it, that would be interesting. But it looks cheap. That's my point. If it looks cheap and you put a nice autograph on it, you gotta say, yeah, it looks cheap, but here's his autograph. Well, you probably want to get his autograph on something else if it's not worth being framed.
Yeah,
not sure.
I agree. I mean, I think you're right. Like if because they are the giveaway fabrics, a lot of the times they are just super cheap, and it might not even sign nicely because sometimes those synthetic materials, they like absorb the ink differently and whatever. So yeah, I think there's going to be a little bit of trial and error. If people, do want it signed, maybe they'd have to find a way to like crop it so that, it doesn't look, it's not the full jersey. It's, if you get a photo with him and you have the jersey signed, we have, like, I have some frames of memorabilia where we have them sign something, but then we have a photo of us with them. So, you got to get a little creative, I think, with this thing.
Collectors get creative. So let me ask you this, John, because I haven't asked you a tricky question yet.
Right.
You're at the game. We're at the game, and you say, "Oh man, everybody's getting." There's 40,000 of these Ryan bloody replica jerseys there, and you bring a stash of $1 bills, and you go stand at the exit, and when people are leaving, you say, "I'll give you $1 for the jersey." Number one. Well, how many do you think you'd get? I think people would say but it was at $5.
Not for $1. No one's going to sell it for $1.
I would sell for $1.
Make those $20 bills, maybe.
For 20 for sure. I mean, $5. And if you bought a bunch of, what would you do with them?
Yeah, well, I could see a secondary market for these. And people who are in Arlington who can't get to the game, I want one of these jerseys. I'm a Ranger fan. I just don't live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I got to get one of these jerseys. So we're going to see these things on eBay. We're going to see these on secondary marketplaces. What do they go for? Well, even if they're cheap, right? Like T-shirt, or they're not like, top of the line material. People are going to buy these things.
Let me give you another wrinkle then, okay? As you're standing there and handing out your $5 bills, your $20 bills. What if these shirts, these replica shirts, are serial numbered?
Yeah.
And they're numbered to 40,000. I think that now if you have number
speaking of the old
or number 1.
Speaking of the old scoreboard days of high numbering.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, there will be a secondary market. You're going to see these for sale on eBay. Then if Ryan signs them, you're going to see those, whether it be an auction or eBay. There's going to be a secondary market for unsigned shirts and signed one. And Nolan Ryan is obviously a very popular Hall of Fame player who's still pretty active and that sort of thing. So, yeah, there's going to be a market for these, with his signature and without this signature. A couple comments. They're far back, but I want to, does this open a door for other like giveaways in other cities? Like in Boston, are they going to give away a pair of socks where the right sock has that bloody shilling stain on it? Maybe he's not an athlete, but maybe in Detroit, you get a M&M shirt with some spaghetti stains on the front of it. Like, where does this open the floodgates for moments like that in other franchises? Go ahead.
Back in the day, hockey was very strict about not showing blood and not showing their enforcers in pugilistic poses. They wanted to emphasize the speed and grace of hockey and not the fighting. I think that's probably loosened now, but blood in sports cards, that's but I'm sure the Rangers, ran it through channels, got approvals, did some test marketing, but if it's 40,000, that ensures that it could never be really valuable.
Yeah. Well, to someone who wants it and can't get to the event itself, like you said, Dr. Jim, you just need two people thinking the same way to just bid that thing up to get one. What would be interesting is if the Rangers even sold them on their merchandising, like for people who can't get to the game. Hey, and maybe do it like where the money goes to charity. Hey, you couldn't get to the game. You can buy one for $20. It goes to Nolan Ryan's charity of choice. I'd like to see even that. And that way it keeps the market fair. You're not going to see one of these T-shirts go for $80 on eBay when you can buy them from the Ranger site where the money goes to charity for $20 a shirt.
So how many more are you going to print then? Now we're up to 50,000, 60,000?
Yeah, well, you're eliminating by doing that. You're sort of eliminating that crazy secondary market from just getting off the rails. You know what I mean? Which I don't think
junk jerseys.
it's a junk jersey era of giveaways. So, all right, guys, we're about up to the hour. Lauren, we'll start with you. Any plans for the rest of the weekend? What's going on in your neck of the woods?
We have company coming in, so cannot go to the Topps Rip Night events at some of the local card shops in Central Florida, unfortunately. But yeah, and I wasn't going to say anything, but I am. I know Foul Ball had a question if I'm even a collector or just my husband. And I'm going to take the opportunity to call him a doofus. And that's all I have to share on that. But yeah, it's
someone else asked. I think Queen of Cards asked you if you collect Wemby. So like she wasn't saying.
I did not see that one. I don't. But I like Wemby. I like Wemby, but he's still a little bit out of my range when I want to focus on my Coco collection. And there's new cards of hers coming out over and over and over again. So.
Yeah. But what Foul Ball said is tell me you don't know about Lauren without saying you don't know.
So. He's new here. He's new.
Yeah. Dr. Jim, anything you want to plug? Shows coming up or that sort of thing?
Well, to use Lauren's expression of all in, when there's a card show, I'm all in. If there's not a card show, I can be a great husband and dad and granddad and all that kind of stuff. And so, I'm either all in or I'm not. So this weekend is pretty peaceful. There's always a show now. And so I'm picking my choices. And so every couple of months, and sometimes I'll go to the intermediate show, the interlude shows that are in between those. But I get a great fix, and all the people I want to see a lot of times are at the every other month show. So peaceful weekend, guys. Is this the highlight? No, my highlight is my date with my wife, not with you guys.
Not talking with me and Lauren? Come on.
Yeah.
Topps Rip Night, like Lauren alluded to, is today. So if you have a LCS in your neck of the woods and you want to, partake in the festivities, it is a fun night. I've been to prior. I'm going to one. There's a card store 3 miles from my house. I know the owners very well. And they got the call. They are getting their first Topps Hobby Rip Night. The guest of honor for them will be Kyan Anthony, who plays here at Syracuse University, college basketball. You might recognize the last name. He's the son of Carmelo Anthony. And usually where you see Kyan, you see dad. So there's a rumor that Carmelo and Kyan will be 3 miles here from my house at the give him proper credit, GG's Cards and Breaks here off of Teal AF. If you're in Central New York and can make it out, starts at 5 o'clock. Kyan will be there starting at 7, maybe Carmelo as well. I will be covering this event for Sports Card Nation podcast, and I'll be writing an article for the event for Sports Collectors Digest. So look for that in a future issue there. So hopefully we see Carmelo, but Kyan is very popular as well in these parts. So fun night there. And so we'll see. But as always, we thank our great chat room, and we even thank you if you're not here live and you're listening to this and downloading it after the fact. You didn't have to do that, yet you did. We appreciate you one and the same. So for Lauren, for Dr. Jim, we'll be back, not us per se, but the show will be back next Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. So, we'll see you then. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Lauren. Thanks, John.